Afternoon, and welcome to the Ann Arbor DDA's July 2020 board meeting. There's a lot of background noise going on. All right. My name is Keith Orr, and I am the DDA board chair. I'll go over some of the details of today's meeting, make sure everyone understands what will take place. DDA board members will participate by video and audio. Staff members and other attendees will participate by audio only. Other participants may include Susan Polley, DDA Executive Director, Sarah McCallum, DDA Accounting Director and Deputy Director, Maura Thompson, DDA Communications Manager, Jada Halbrook, DDA Parking Services Manager, Amber Miller, DDA Capital Projects Manager, Kelly Graves, DDA Management Assistant, Liz Ralla, Civil Engineer with the DDA, Mike McInnes, who is the General Manager of Republic Parking System, and Chris Simmons, who is the Program Director of Get Downtown. I want to thank members of the public who are joining us today. Looks like we have several. Your microphone will be muted during the meetings, but time has been set aside at the end of each meeting for public comment. There are also four 4-minute speaking slots at the beginning of the DDA meeting for public comment. The chat function is enabled for use during the board meeting by the board members to indicate you wish to speak. Because this is a virtual meeting, we need each DDA member or staff member to identify yourself before speaking. When not speaking, please mute your microphone. When it appears there is no disagreement, resolutions will be approved by voice consensus. If board members express disagreement, a roll call vote will be taken. That takes a little extra time, but it's an essential part of the process to ensure each person's response is identified and correctly recorded on video for the written minutes. As we begin, I want once again to thank everyone for participating and appreciate your patience and understanding as we go through this process. With that, Susan, could you please open the meeting with a roll call vote of the board?
Happily. Micah Bartome.
Present.
Tom Crawford. Alexandra Deek.
Present.
Here we go. Bob Gunzel.
Here.
Tyler Kinley.
Here.
Marie Clough.
Present.
Jessica Letow.
Yes.
And Raul's not coming back.
Holly McFarland.
Here.
Darren McKinnon.
Present.
Rishi Narayan.
Here.
Keith Orr.
Here.
Bill Weiss.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Susan. Still hearing some background noise going on here. Yeah.
It looks like Ali's video and microphone are on, and I think that's where it's coming from.
Kelly, can you, I think Kelly is our host. Can you handle that? Thank you. Let's see. So I'd like to begin with a voice vote to approve the board meeting agenda. First off, I guess I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Bob moves. Second?
Second.
Phil Weiss seconds. I'll ask for unanimous consent. Any objections? All right, seeing none, the agenda is approved. Let's see. At this point,
we did have someone that did want to speak. They sent me a note. Steve Hall would like to speak during the
a 4-minute time. Very good. Let me get my timer out. And Steve, go ahead. And please do identify yourself.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought my video had been turned off. That is okay. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Steve Hall. My wife and I own Spencer Restaurant on 113 East Liberty Street. I had sent out some brief thoughts about the downtown street closures to some of the members of this group last night, as well as to the city council and to the mayor. We have been having very, very mixed results with the street closures on our end. And so we sent out some notes wondering why the DDA, the City Council, the Main Street Association has not taken more measures to emphasize signage and public safety, to enforce parking, and traffic, which has become a problem downtown, as well as encouraging other restaurants and businesses to underscore social distancing, mask wearing, measures like that, that I think at first we thought we're all going to be monitored by businesses themselves, and I think that maybe that was the right first impression. However, now that we are seeing many more outbreaks, not just around the country, but in other parts of the state, that the threat is getting a little bit closer. And obviously I'm not extremely involved with the DDA and the Main Street Association, but I guess I was hoping that during this meeting, someone could clarify for us who is taking the lead on all of these different things. I am unclear. When I speak to the Main Street Association, they say talk to the council. When I talk to the council member, they say, oh, that's a county health department thing. And that may be true. People are responsible for different things, but given that we're in the middle of a pandemic, I am talking to you today to ask for some clarity about either why these measures aren't being taken or who I can talk to improve these measures. That's it.
Keith, you're muted.
Hello?
Keith, you're
Keith,
muted.
you're
Hello,
unmuted.
Keith.
Sorry. Sorry about that. I see David has raised his hand. So go ahead, David, and please remember to identify yourself.
Yes, thank you. David Deepice, Ann Arbor resident. I just want to speak briefly to your upcoming annual meeting and your selection of officers. I think it might be helpful for any members of the public that aren't as familiar with how the DDA operates, that you can elicit, our officers chosen every year. Is it mandated by statute or by bylaw? And maybe a little bit about what the responsibilities of each officer is. Is the chair, besides running meetings, do they have any other functions? Does the treasurer write checks? Do they have some sort of oversight responsibility, et cetera? I think that would be very helpful for people that may not be as familiar with the DDA and that are watching and listening to get a little better sense of what's going on. Thank you.
Keith, you're muted.
See, I'm so good at turning it off when other people are talking. Let's see. So seeing none, we'll move on. Next is the reports from the city boards and commissions, and the Downtown Area Citizens Advisory Council did meet via Zoom last night, and I believe Steve Kaplan is going to be reporting. Is Steve here? I guess not.
Yeah, I don't see him online.
Yeah, I don't either. All right. I guess we won't get that report. Moving on. DDA member communications. Do we have any board members who would like to communicate? Jessica raises her hand.
This is Jessica Lita. For the last 2.5 years since I joined the DDA, I've been doing downtown halls, and in nicer weather, I do 2 a month. One is a coffee hour and one is a walking tour of active projects. Obviously for right now, those are on hold. I would like to do a digital counterpart to those. I did one earlier this year and it went relatively well, except my connection was a little bit unstable. I do plan to pick those back up, but it will probably be the fall. So for folks who are aware of those or might be interested in getting to know a little bit more about the DDA, what we do, how our revenues work, how we decide on what we spend, anything like that. I do enjoy having those conversations, but the new normal, I'm still getting my feet under myself too. So anyway, those will be coming back, but not probably until the fall.
All right, thank you. Any other DDA members? All right, in that case, I'll now turn it over to Susan for the Executive Director report.
I'm going to break protocol just because I can. And I've got 2 items for the board. The first is a tradition that we've held for a couple decades, which is to thank our outgoing board members for their service. And I'd like to put forward a resolution thanking Keith Orr. And if you don't mind, I'll read it for the record, which we normally don't do, but again, with your permission. Whereas Keith Orr has served with distinction on the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority Board since 2008, whereas Keith Orr brought great intelligence and careful deliberation to the discussion of important DDA projects and policies, as well as a solid commitment to the values, purpose, and mission of the DDA. Whereas Keith Orr's concern for the unique needs of small independent businesses and their importance to the special quality and attractiveness of the downtown has been an important factor in the goals and achievements of the DDA over the past 12 years. Whereas Keith Orr has championed transformative street projects and transportation initiatives aimed at making downtown safer and more enjoyable for pedestrians, both at the DDA and at the Washington Area Transportation Study, where he served as a DDA representative. Whereas Keith Orr skillfully took on leadership roles throughout his time on the DDA, including co-chairing the Operations Committee, serving on the Executive Committee, and serving as DDA Chair this year. And whereas Keith Orr's remarkable commitment to the DDA and its mission will be sorely missed, and his devotion to the downtown and the community is an inspiration to all who have had the good fortune to work beside him, resolved, the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority, on behalf of the downtown and the community, thanks Keith Orr for his great service and abundant contributions to the downtown and indeed to the community as a whole through his work on the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority. I don't know if you want a motion and a second, but certainly I think a unanimous approval to be shown this way.
Thank you. I was going to ask, do I have to ask for a motion and a second?
You could.
No move.
That just seems weird.
It could be. But thank you. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Keith. It's been really impactful and important that you've been on our board, and we're very grateful.
Thank you, Susan. It's there are times one appreciates term limits. So yeah, I'm really proud of what has happened over the 12 years I've been on, and 12 years is a lot of time. The only reason I'm ever concerned about term limits is institutional memory, but I think that's not an issue here. We have plenty of it moving on. So thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah,
And yeah, with your indulgence, I have one other item.
yes.
I'm just going to begin by saying that it has been the privilege of my life to have the opportunity to work in support of our extraordinary downtown. When I began here at the DDA in 1996, downtown looked and felt very differently. For instance, there was a whole lot of infrastructure that had deteriorated, and there was a profound sense on the part of many that our downtown was on the losing end of a competition with malls and suburbia. And what I brought to the DDA when I came was something that I still have today, which I feel is something all of you share, which is a passionate love of cities and a strong commitment to valuing what makes our downtown work, which includes its resilience, its strong ties to its history, its constant changeability, its walkability, and the possibility of wonderful things around every corner, plus our diversity. I'm grateful to all of you, board members, past and present, for your generous gift of volunteer time, energy, and commitment. And I've learned a lot from every single one of you. And I'm especially grateful to have had the chance to work with my colleagues here at the DDA. Amber and Jada, Maura, Kelly, and Sarah, your talents and your skills are the foundation for the successes of the DDA and its impact. But with this, I want to remind you all that at the beginning of the year, I told you that this was the year that I was going to be retiring. I want to move on to my next chapter. I think I've shared with many of you individually, there's a lot I'm looking forward to do. One day when the pandemic is behind us, I'd like to get back to doing a lot of international travel. I don't know if all of you know this, but I lived in Malaysia for 15 months and I've traveled throughout Southeast Asia. I've been through much of Europe, but I've only just begun to explore South America and Africa. I'd like to take more classes and do more volunteering. And to do that, I think it's time for us to work toward that transition that I urged us to think about. So with consultation with my colleagues on staff, I think I'm going to aim for Thanksgiving as the time that I'll stop being in the office. I'm committed to working with everybody on a seamless transition. My recommendation, I have a couple recommendations for what we should do as our first steps. The first is I think our staff should work with executive committee to formulate a series of action steps that we'll bring back to the board when we have our next meeting, which is September. And it'll reflect a series of recommendations, including job description, interviews, and all of that. Every single member of the board will be participating in that process, but we're going to need a subgroup to do the work of rolling up their sleeves to get to the details. I'm also recommending that we think about a timeline that includes an interim director. I think it's really important that we give our organization time to do the process right. And give a little distance as you look to your next director. It should be somebody that's right for the time and not a person who's got the same skills that I do. I'm very confident in our board and our staff that you're all going to continue the work of the DDA. And I'm also very confident in this transition. It's very thoughtful and mission driven as everything else that we do. And of course, there's a lot of work between now and the end of the year. But I just wanted to put it out there once again to say to you that it's been the greatest honor of my life that I've had this chance to do this work. I love our downtown and I will look forward to being of service as we transition to our next executive director. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, we're, as you and I have discussed about retirement, there's lots to look forward to. Especially once we get past this pandemic. And I just have to reinforce, and you and I have talked about this as well, with our experiences on the other boards and watching other organizations, the importance of that, of the space between a founding director and the next director. And though Susan, you aren't technically the founding director of the DDA, you were the one who really put it on its feet and in essence became the founding director. So I think that is an excellent suggestion on your part, and I hope the board takes it seriously.
Susan, just to clarify, you mean the American Thanksgiving holiday, yes? Or you're talking about some other Thanksgiving?
Well, that's a good point. That's an excellent point, Phil. I was maybe going to scoot out a little earlier, given that the Canadian Thanksgiving is a month. Was it a month earlier?
About 6 weeks. Yeah.
You're holding me to it. Yeah, I'm thinking at end of November at the earliest.
All right. Very good. So moving on. Like to call for. We have to approve the June minutes, so I need someone to move approval of that.
This is Jessica, so moved.
And a second.
This is Micah, seconded.
Thank you. And again, I'll ask for unanimous consent. Is there any objection? Hearing none, we have some minutes. Next on the agenda are the subcommittee reports, and we start with you, Phil.
Okay, thank you. This is Phil Weiss, Chair of the Operations Committee. I have 3 resolutions to go over today, and Jada has a couple of short updates for us. But I'd like to first, I need it to move the resolution to approve a contract with RAM Construction Services for fiscal year 21 for parking system repairs and to establish a project budget.
Second.
And I need a second.
Aaron, this is a second.
Okay, thank you.
The FY21 list of garage repairs and maintenance was reduced from 3.1 million to 1.3 to include only essential items. Other work has been deferred to future years. RAM is identified as the lowest possible vendor with a bid of 1.143 million. 20% contingency has been recommended, so the project budget for the fiscal year 21 parking system repairs is 1.372 million. Jada, I'm sure, is available to answer any questions from anyone, so I'll open it up at this point. The information is listed on pages 20, 21, and 22 of your packet.
And Kelly, can we get a screen share up just so that anyone watching can see the resolution?
Sure, it's not coming up on your screen. Let me do a reshare.
Susan's announcement for Zoom.
Meanwhile, any discussion? All right.
Is it, Kelly, is it because we're in speaker view? Is that why we're not seeing it?
Should
Yeah,
be.
I think whether you're in speaker or gallery
Okay.
view, you should be seeing it. I'm not showing a screen share next to your name, Kelly. So something, maybe you can try that again. Meanwhile, let's not. Oh, look, here we go. Just wanted to have that up so that anyone who wanted to see it could do so. But hearing no discussion, is this may be one I think we can ask for unanimous consent. If anyone has any objections, please let me know and we can do a roll call. Any objections to this resolution? Seeing none, it passes. Back to you, Phil.
Okay, thanks. I need to move a second resolution to approve a project budget for the Ann Ashley parking structure elevator repair project, which is listed on page 23. And maybe Kelly, if we can get that one up on the screen.
Meanwhile, any second?
Second.
Bob Gunzel seconds. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. There's a lot of discussion about this particular resolution, given the state that we're in with, the lack of revenue that we've had over the last few months. But the decision was made through the committee to do these repairs, which are beyond cosmetic. They address tripping hazards and issues within the parking structure elevators that were sort of patched up in past years. I think the last time they were patched up was in 14 and in 2017. So we're beyond the patching phase, and it's been recommended that we spend this money to do these repairs just because of deterioration and increased service calls, and our WGI, our engineers, and Republic Parking and Schindler Elevator have all recommended that we do these repairs. So that's why we're bringing this forward. One of the things that we discussed in addition to doing these repairs is in the future, we're under contract with Schindler Elevator for this stuff, but Darren, and he can probably talk about this much more eloquently than me, but I think we're gonna give Jada the directive to hire or look at hiring a consultant or another elevator expert to sort of oversee future repairs, to give a better sense, or just another set of eyes and another opinion to the process, just so that we can be sure that we're doing the right things and we're repairing the right stuff. Darren, did I say that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, an elevator consultant, if we want to use a word that a lot of people would probably like, the fancy title is a vertical transportation consultant. That's a pretty specialized consultant, but they're basically elevator experts. And we have enough facilities with vertical transportation elements, if you will, that are aging and are going to continue to need maintenance, which is often very expensive. And it just is a wise way to make sure that we're getting an independent third party advising us, as opposed to just taking the contractor's word for what repairs we should be doing. And it also gives us the ability to be proactive, do some surveys on the equipment, and budget things out in future years so that we're not being reactive with very expensive repairs.
Yep, like I said, he said it a lot better than me. Total cost for this is $220,245. Put on a 15% contingency, so we get $253,281 as it says up here on our screen on the resolution. Do we have any other discussion about this?
Micah, did I see you raise your hand?
Yeah, it sounds like these repairs need to be made. I did have just a question about the consultant and the contract with Schindler. Does anyone know how long that contract is in place, and are these kind of repairs or ongoing maintenance on the elevator system? Can they be rebid at any point here, so we can get a better idea, not just from a single contractor source?
I think we're under contract with Schindler. Jada, correct me if I'm wrong, through 2023. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
This is Darren. If I can try to answer. I mean, we have the way elevators typically work is there's maintenance contracts that you need to have in place to satisfy state inspection requirements, and that's what I believe we have with Schindler. Major projects like this are typically not covered by those. Another large benefit that the vertical transportation consultant can help us with is to bid out maintenance on multiple elevators like this, and so that we have our contract form as opposed to the contractor's contract form. And a lot of times you get locked into a lot of things that you don't necessarily need to get locked in. Just better negotiating up front with some of these maintenance contracts. And it takes a little time to get them in place because of various expiration dates. But I think it would be in our benefit in the long term to get our form of contract out there and be able to bid maintenance regularly, just like we do with Republic and any other service. We can get Schindler to bid against some of the other vendors.
Right, and indeed, we do this on other things as well. There are certain projects we have that have to be approved by usually the same people that the city uses to, confirm that the work is being done correctly and this sort of thing. As we saw in the Detroit Street project, where that sort of oversight was really valuable. So I think that moving forward, that's a really good plan to have somebody who can both do that as well as help us in, as you say, in the next contract. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Once again, I'll ask for unanimous consent. Is there any unanimous, unanimous consent for the resolution to approve a project budget for Ann Ashley parking structure elevator repairs? Are there any objections to unanimous consent for this? All right, hearing none. Then this resolution passes. Back to you again, Phil.
Okay, thanks. I have a third resolution. I'll direct your attention to pages 24 and 25 of your packet. I need a motion to move the resolution to reinstate late payment processes for overdue parking accounts.
And we need a second.
I think he was asking for a motion, but I think you were making a motion.
No, I'm making a motion, sorry.
Right.
This is Darren, I will second it.
All right, very good, thank you.
So back in April, the DDA voted to temporarily waive penalties on unpaid or late parking permit accounts until further notice due to the shutdown, the pandemic, and so forth. After discussion, the Ops Committee recommends that the DDA reinstate its late payment processes as of today, July 1st, 2020. The committee also recommends that Republic Parking work with past due accounts on a repayment plan with the goal of complete repayment by December 31st. And Kelly, could you put that memo up on page 24? This details some of the directives that we're giving to Republic to work with the late accounts. we heard that as of May 31st, that we had receivables of $638,800, of which 74% were past due. So my understanding is that Republic has had some experience in the past working with past due accounts. So they're well versed in this. We just wanted to give them some additional, I guess, instructions or directives that would help them work with the past due account holders to give them some time to make payments until December 31st, when we expect that all these, hopefully the majority of these accounts will be paid in full. So we thought it would be best to just have a general resolution, which is on page 25, but attach the memo in your packet so that you can see some of the detail that we've given Republic as far as, you know, when they're doing this work. So I think we had pretty unanimous consent that the time was right to start these proceedings to sort of work down those receivables and bring some of these folks back to current. So I'll open it up to discussion from there.
This is Jessica. I'm not a formal member of the operations committee, but I do try to attend when I can because it's technical enough and in the weeds enough that following along with the conversation really helps. And I just want to really thank the committee for paying such close attention, not just to this issue, but to what it's going to take to help people be successful with a focus on small businesses. I know that everybody is struggling and everybody has a lot of uncertainty. And it gives me hope to see leadership focusing on, you know, how are we going to come out of this hole together as a community, and then how are we paying attention to our most sensitive members. So I just wanted to thank you guys for leading that kind of conversation.
Any other discussion? All right, I will then ask for unanimous consent for the resolution to reinstate late payment processes for overdue parking accounts. Do I hear any objection to unanimous consent? Hearing none, the resolution passes.
Thanks, Keith. I have a couple of quick, or actually, Jada, it's your turn. Would you like to give us the parking and transportation update, please?
Thank you, Phil. This is Jada. So at the Operations Committee meeting, we heard from Mike McKennis, the General Manager at Republic Parking, that staff at Republic is doing well and learning all the new processes and details around, you know, increased sanitization and have been adjusting well. We also heard from Chris Simmons, who shared a brief update about what's happening at the ride. I don't know if he is on the call today, but he indicated that he would have a more robust update for us at a future meeting. But again, just hearing from Mike and Chris and getting some info about kind of the daily operations as things start back up.
Thanks, Jada. I was having a hard time hearing you. We've got a weird connection on your phone, but I think we got all of that. Next on my agenda is to say that we have no meeting in July, so no Operations Committee meeting in July. The next Operations Committee meeting will be at Wednesday, August 26th at 11 a.m. And I was speaking with my co-chair, Mr. McKinnon.
Not yet.
Okay, that's true.
Don't count those votes.
My future co-chair, to be nominated shortly. We'd love to get back to in-person meetings. I don't know how possible that is, but I'd like to throw out that at the August 26th Operations Committee meeting, that those who are willing and able to make it to an in-person meeting, that we open it up to that. Recognizing social distancing and so forth, but that we also make the meeting available either via Zoom or teleconference where people can call in So I'd like to throw that out there. I don't know if we need discussion on that, Susan, or if that's just completely something we can't do. But I would like to at least try to do that.
Well, the staff definitely hear you, and fortunately, you've given us some time to think through how we might do it.
Okay.
So let us figure that part out. But we have that directive. We want to be sure that it's available to the public, and at the same time allow us to see each other in person. So we'll figure out some strategies.
Okay, so we'll either see people in person or digitally on Wednesday, August 26th at 11. Thank you, Keith. I'm done.
All right. And just to piggyback on that, I know that there perhaps, committees this might work out. I know that there are difficulties with this whole group because basically to maintain social distancing in the space we have, we would fit in and maybe one staff member, which would make it very difficult for public to participate in any way since our camera system doesn't encompass the whole room. We would essentially be doing Zoom meetings from our chair there. But a committee meeting might be a different matter, where it's just a few people would be able to set up around a table. So we'll let them look into that and see if there's a way they could make it.
So that's a question that I had. Do these meetings have to be Zoom meetings? In other words, if our committee meeting, we had 3 people there from the committee in person, but we made it available via a teleconference line where people just call in on and we put them on speakerphone. Is that something that could work as well?
Right, those are things they can look at.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Thanks. So next up is Finance Committee report. I'll turn it over to you, Bob.
Okay, Finance Committee has a couple resolutions. I would label them as banking resolutions. And then Sarah's outlined those resolutions beginning on page 26. And let me move there are 2 resolutions. Let me move the first one. I'd move the resolution to establish signatories to our trust account. And ask if there are any questions. Ask for a second, first of all.
Second.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
And ask if there are any questions or comments and turn those over to Sarah.
I see no hands raised. So once again, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Keith. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So seeing no discussion, I'll ask for unanimous consent on the resolution to establish signatories on the trust account. Do I have any objections to unanimous consent? All right, seeing none, the resolution passes.
And the second resolution, I'd move a resolution to establish signatories on the checking account. And ask for a second.
This is Jessica, second.
Let's see, any discussion on this? I think this does change a little bit about how we do the signing than from the way we've done it now. But the Finance Committee had a pretty thorough discussion about it and felt like it conformed better to state directives and there were plenty of safeguards still in place.
And I think our auditor, Yo and Yo, has given us the thumbs up on that as well.
All right, I will ask for unanimous consent on the resolution to establish signatories on the checking account. Is there any objection? All right, seeing none, the resolution passes.
The committee also reviewed the expense registers. And we discussed how often we are going to meet and when that should be. And we reduced the number of meetings from monthly to 7 meetings per year. I hear that may be premature in terms of leadership, but we tried to make the dates more relevant and coincide with certain financial activities of the organization. And we are also would like to move the time of the meetings to 9 a.m. to accommodate all members' schedules. There will be no committee meeting in July. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 27th at 9 a.m. That ends our report.
Keith, you're muted again.
Thank you, Bob. Then next up is capital improvements, I believe.
This is Jessica. I'll report out on capital improvements and look to Molly for helping me remember what I may have forgotten. The committee did not meet in June. We brought forward 5 resolutions, as many resolutions from our committee as was in the whole board meeting. So staff have been busy with all of that, and construction activity continues. On First Street, this week the contractor will continue to place concrete curb and sidewalk and install conduit and light pole bases between William and Washington. The road base is being prepared between Huron and Washington. Next week we expect to begin removals on the west side south of Huron. And an editorial comment on that, if anybody here has kids of the big equipment age who love seeing big trucks do big things, this project is a fun one to bring and just come and sit an hour and watch stuff. On William, the William is substantially complete, including permanent pavement markings. Since William Street is our first protected bike lane, staff are monitoring as discussed during the planning process and will provide updates regarding maintenance, delineators, and minor design changes at a subsequent meeting. On Huron, miscellaneous punch list repairs will take place in the coming weeks. Changing gears to our pandemic response, how the DDA has supported the city's pandemic response and our pilot projects. Parking space closures and the DDA grant for street closures have been relatively well received by businesses operating within those expanded outdoor spaces. When it comes to the pilot projects, on June 15th, City Council postponed DDA and city-funded pilot projects until Monday, July 6th. As a reminder, these were the projects intended to support physical distancing and downtown access, while also informing future DDA projects. And I want to take a minute to really thank staff for all of their hard work on these efforts. I'd also like to take a moment while I'm on this section to acknowledge Steve Hall's comments from earlier this meeting. For Steve and for anybody who may be less familiar with public meetings, typically what happens is it's a relatively one-way dialogue. You give comment, we receive it, and it's not really a two-way conversation, but please know that your comments have been heard. And I'm sure that staff or somebody will be reaching out to you soon to talk more about your concerns. On people-friendly streets, staff are working close with the Housing Commission, Office of Sustainability and Transportation Department to shape project values and initial project recommendations for our committee discussion. Amber and Liz are available if you have any questions about any of those projects or just life in general. And our next CIC committee meeting is this coming Wednesday, July 15th, or not this coming Wednesday, but Wednesday, July 15th at 11 a.m.
All right. Thank you, Jess. Let's see, which does that bring? It brings us up to partnerships. Turn it over to Tyler.
Okay. Thanks, Jess, and thank you, Keith. Partnerships. We had our meeting. It was part DDA only, and it was a bit of a meta meeting. It was partnerships discussing partnerships, but it was a good discussion. It was a lot talking about the history and establishment of the committee itself, a lot of the changes and processes that it's gone through over the years, and a bit of a discussion about its recent history, and talking about what its purpose is and should be and could be, especially with respect to the changes that the downtown and the DDA is going through and facing in the future. We decided that we wanted to retain the oversight of the DDA's housing fund, including recommending housing grants. And in addition, we wanted to make sure that we retained the connection with the taxing authority partners and maintain the integrity of the connections that had already been established through the committee, which people really felt were important to just that face-to-face connection that we had with our partners. We did recommend or come up with a recommendation, which will be coming forth in today's meetings, the changing of the name of the committee to be the Housing and Economic Development Committee, and to revise its description, which we'll get to coming forward. That's pretty much what we went over. Our next meeting will be this coming Wednesday, July 15th. And like Phil, we'd love to meet in person, but it doesn't look like it's in the cards for this July, sometime in the future perhaps, but expect it to be over Zoom, and that will be with the partners. So I think that's pretty much an overview of the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Tyler. Next up is Executive Committee. So I'll turn it over to me. We did meet today, first time in I think 3 months. Mainly just met to discuss the agenda for both this meeting and the one immediately following, our annual meeting, which takes place immediately after this. Otherwise, the only other thing we talked about was Sarah let us know that received the Yo and Yo, who are our auditors, their engagement letter that is in the packet for anyone who wants to see that. And also that we have no board meeting in August, which is sort of traditional break, which is why all of the committees have said there's no July meeting, because they're not preparing for an August board meeting. So with that, the next executive committee meeting will be, again, just before the next full board meeting, Wednesday, September 2nd at 11 a.m. All right. So I believe that brings us to new business. Anyone have any new business?
This is Jessica. I don't know if this counts as business, but I'd like to comment on, or just kind of add my comment to what folks are saying about, format of meeting moving forward, and figuring out our new normal. I get weird when I stay in my house too long, and I really miss hanging out with human beings, especially you guys. I really like working with this board and our committees. I'm really reticent to moving faster on resuming meetings, especially if it means some kind of hybrid model where some people are in person and some people are at home. I'm thinking both about how, we are participating as board members, as well as how we're making it accessible to the public. If we've got committees that are not necessarily meeting every month, and also we have different modalities that we're asking people to access, we're moving away from the transparency and the accessibility that we work towards as the DDA, and making it harder for the public to engage. So I trust staff to monitor what's legal and what's recommended statewide and per our local county health department. And I'm, like I said, I'm looking forward to being back in the room with you guys. I'm not enthusiastic about supporting a hybrid model, and whatever it is, I hope that we're making it as easy as possible for folks to continue to engage the DDA. So I just wanted to say my thoughts on that.
Thanks. Any other new business? All right, which means this is, as we approach the end of this meeting, we always reserve time at the end for other audience participation. If you're attending by computer, so I can see any hand raises. Computer or phone with a Zoom app, please use the raise your hand function and I'll call on you. At that time, unmute your phone, state your first and last name, share your comments. If attending by phone audio only, please unmute your microphone and request to comment. Are there anyone from the public who wish to comment? I don't see anyone. Kelly, do you see anyone?
No, I do not.
All right. In that case, I'm looking for a motion to, I should say, remind everyone out there that though we're going to now adjourn this meeting, we immediately go into our annual meeting. So I'm
Keith,
looking for a motion. Yes.
I just want to say one more thing. Susan's already said it very eloquently, but we're going to miss you, dude. So thank you again.
Thank you, Phil. Let's see. So with that, looking for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved. This is Marie.
Marie
Second,
moves.
this is Darren.
Darren seconds. And I'll ask for unanimous consent. This is usually not a controversial one. Anyone, any objection to unanimous consent on the motion to adjourn? Seeing none, the motion is adjourned. The meeting is adjourned.
I was going to say,
that-
Kelly, can you remove the share portion of your screen?
All right. So
I think this is Phil. I think Marie, were you just trying to say something? Because if you were, I think you were either muted or we couldn't hear what you said.
she was asking Kelly to remove the share, which Kelly did.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Sorry.
So with the board meeting closed, we'll immediately go into the annual meeting. So we'll go through this again. Good afternoon and welcome to the Ann Arbor DDA's annual meeting. My name is Keith Orr and I am, for a few more minutes, the DDA board chair. The purpose of the annual meeting is to nominate and elect DDA board officers for fiscal year 21 and to vote on whether to continue or dissolve each of the DDA committees. We'll begin with the nomination and election of board members. Where are my notes on this? For the fiscal year 21, nominations will be moved in seconded. So first I'm looking for nominations for DDA treasurer.
Keith, this is Susan.
Yes.
Would you mind if we did a roll call before we jumped in?
Oh, yes, that's true. I don't have that is not in my notes, but you're right. We should do a roll call. Susan, could you do a roll call for the meeting?
Absolutely. For that, Keith, we're just going to make this your last meeting, that mistake. Okay. Micah Bartome.
Present.
Tom Crawford.
Here.
Alexandra Deek.
Here.
Bob Gunzel.
Here.
Tyler Kinley.
Here.
Marie Clough.
Here.
Jessica Letow.
Yes.
Molly McFarland.
Here.
Darren McKinnon.
Present.
Rishi Narayan.
Here.
Keith Orr.
Here.
Phil Weiss.
Here.
We have a quorum, and if you would allow me one other interruption, we'd
Sure.
had a request from a member of the public to talk about this part of our meeting, whether it's required by state statute. I just want to say that the annual meeting is called out in the DDA bylaws, which were established at the creation of the DDA. The roles of the officers were listed. We have not in the last 20 years followed them exactly. In essence, what we have is the chair presides at the meetings and discharges the duties as a presiding officer. So generally, this means you're gaveling the board meeting. The vice chair is listed as, we say, in the absence of the chair or in the event of inability to serve as chair, the vice chair shall perform the duties of the chair and when so acting shall be subject to all the restrictions of the chair. I'm not quite sure what that means, but basically what that's meant is if Keith hasn't been here, Jessica has stepped in as our vice chair. The bylaws speak to a treasurer. It says that the treasurer shall prepare with the assistance of city officials an annual financial report covering the fiscal year. We have not had that since the beginning of the DDA. We've had, starting with Joe Morehouse and now with Sarah, professional staff serving in that role. We have not needed the treasurer. This is speaking to a time when there was a single staff member for the first years of the DDA, including my first couple years. It was just a single staff member. And then the second is true with the recording secretary. What the bylaws say is that they shall attend all the meetings of the board and record all votes in minutes of the proceeding shall be kept. Well, same thing with staff. Once we began to develop a staff, now Kelly does that service for us. So the secretary does not officially have a role, either does as with the treasurer. But that was at the time, again, at the formation of the DDA.
All right. Thank you for that, Susan. I won't go over that introductory stuff again. So instead we'll move on the to the nominations. May I have, are there any nominations for the treasurer position?
This is Jessica. I nominate Marie Klopp.
Very good. Do we have a second?
I would second it.
All right, let's see. So again, I will ask, are there any other nominations, I should first say? All right.
Oh, for this position or future
yes,
position?
for this position.
Okay, no.
All right. Hearing none, I will ask for unanimous consent for Marie as the treasurer. Any objections? Hearing none. Congratulations, Marie. Let's move on. What is next? The secretary position, which, though it is listed as recording secretary, don't worry, it's actually not the recording secretary. Kelly does the recording. And so do I have a nomination for the position of secretary?
This is Phil Weiss. I nominate Darren McKinnon.
Very good. Do I have a second?
Marie Claus, I second that.
All right. So we have Darren McKinnon as a nominee. Do we have any other nominations? Hearing none, I will ask for unanimous consent for Darren in the position of secretary. Are there any objections? Darren did not object, so we will, congratulations, Darren.
He was under immense pressure to
so we'll move on to the position of vice chair. Do I have any nominations?
This is Darren. I nominate Tyler Kinley.
Thank you, Darren. And we need a second.
Bob supports.
All right, very good. Any other nominations for the position of vice chair? Hearing none, I'll ask for unanimous consent for Tyler in the position of vice chair. Hearing no objections, congratulations, Tyler. Moving on to the position of chair. Do I have any nominations for the position of chair?
I nominate Jessica Letoff.
Thank you, Marie. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
This is
I think that was me. I second. All right.
All right, thank you. We have Jessica nominated for chair. Do I have any other nominations? Hearing none, I will ask for unanimous consent for the position of Jessica as the chair for the board. Any objections? Hearing none, congratulations, Jess. So now we move on to our other job of this meeting, which is committees. So I have a resolution to reappoint the DDA Capital Improvements Committee. Do we have a motion for that?
This is Jessica, so moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Mike, a second.
Any discussion on it? Things to appoint people. Here we go. So I'll ask for unanimous consent on the resolution to reappoint the DDA Capital Improvements Committee. Hearing none, the resolution is passed and we have reappointed the Capital Improvements Committee. It is the chair's prerogative to name chairs, co-chairs, and other committee members. So for the Capital Improvements Committee, the chairs will be co-chaired by Molly McFarland and Alex D. Other committee members will include Micah Bartlemy, Tyler Kinley, Jessica Letaw, and Darren McKinnon. Next, we move to the resolution to reappoint the DDA Operations Committee, Parking and Transportation. Do I have someone to move that?
Can I move it as the chair?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second. Mike, I second.
Looks like Tom seconded. And any discussion on it? I will ask for unanimous consent on the resolution to reappoint the DDA Operations, Parking and Transportation Committee. Any objections? All right, seeing none, that motion passes. And I will name co-chairs of Phil Weiss and Darren McKinnon. Other committee members will include Tyler Kinley and Bob Gunzel. Moving on to the resolution to dissolve the DDA Partnerships Committee and create the Affordable Housing Economic Development Committee. This one, let's see, maybe it's not long, so I will quickly read the resolved, just because this is the only one that is different from our previous one. Resolved, the DDA board dissolves its Partnerships Committee and appoints instead its Housing and Economic Development Committee. This committee recommends DDA housing grants for approval by the board and works in support of the DDA's mission by finding ways to support the governmental agencies whose taxes are captured as part of the DDA's TIF. All right, I need someone to move that.
So moved.
Tyler moves. We need a second.
It's Micah second.
Micah seconds. And any discussion? I'll ask for unanimous consent for the resolution to dissolve the DDA Partnerships Committee and create the Affordable Housing Economic Development Committee. Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. I will name co-chairs Tyler Kinley and Micah Bartlemy. Other committee members will include Bob Gunzel and Darren McKinnon. All right, we're close to done here. Next, we move on to the resolution to reappoint the DDA Finance Committee. I need a motion.
So moved.
Is that Micah? Micah, and a second.
This is Jess.
Second.
Jess seconded. Did I hear that? Yes. Okay. Any discussion? I'll ask for unanimous consent on the resolution to reappoint the DDA Finance Committee. Any objections? Hearing none, the resolution passes. I will name co-chairs of Bob Gunzel and Marie Klopp. Other committee members will include Rishi Narayan and Phil Weiss. And the only other committee is the DDA Executive Committee, which we don't have to do a resolution because it is under the bylaws. It shall consist of the officers of the board, including the chair, vice chair, treasurer, recording secretary, as well as the last former chair, who is a non-voting member, and the executive director, who is also a non-voting ex officio member. The executive committee reviews the monthly board meeting agenda, oversees special projects, and is responsible for conducting the DDA executive director annual review. Any discussion? And of course, we don't need any vote on that. Let's see. I think that's it there, which brings us to, I guess I don't handle the next item. Is this Susan who handles it?
Yep. As we have in the past, this is an opportunity at the annual meeting for staff to thank the outgoing chair who has so skillfully gavelled the meetings this year. We really thank you, Keith, for your leadership. It's unusual that we're also saying goodbye to you at the same meeting. And on behalf of the staff, just want to convey to you how impactful you've been and what an important leader you've been for the organization. Thank you again for your time and your service. As a small memento, it's also a tradition that we've been giving our outgoing chair a small gift from the staff. And together we're going to be giving you a gift certificate to Nights. Rumor has it you are a regular at Nights. And so for you, Martin, some of your upcoming meals, please think of us as we say our thank you and our goodbye. So we'll get you that gift card in the next day or so.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's those healthy pores over there, right? Right, Keith?
Yeah, among other things, it's our Monday night tradition, and so we've continued that with a Monday night curbside pickup, which is still nice. But normally we hang out at the bar, and especially during the summer months, watch baseball. Which, of course, we have been neither able to hang out nor watch baseball, though that will be changing in about a month from the sounds of it. Though I'm not sure if we'll be going out just yet, especially indoor at a bar. There you go. So thank you very much, Susan. I love the staff here. It's a group that is so mission-oriented, and to see some of the things we've accomplished over the last 12 years, but especially over the last few years has just really been amazing. So thank you to all of you. Which brings us to public comment period. I will look over here and see if there's anyone. I don't see anyone raising their hand. Kelly, do you concur with that?
That's correct. I don't see anyone either.
All right, very good. So comes to adjournment. I'll need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Phil moves, and a second.
Second is Darren.
All right. And no, I won't insist on a roll call vote. We'll go with unanimous consent. Is there any objection? With no objection, if I had a gavel, I would gavel us closed. I do not, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you in September. Thank you.
Happy 4th, everybody.
Happy 4th.